Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you're new to this channel or you have not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live, and there's a link in the info box below the video once it's rendered. But most importantly, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show. Sharing the show increases the live audience, of course, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show. And one last time, if you are new to the channel or you have not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Nummy Num and Ranty. How are you both doing, gentlemen?
Doing good, thank you.
Excellent.
Not bad, not bad.
I'm still eating a sandwich though, so I might have to go on mute for a minute or two.
How are you, Nummy? You good?
Yeah, just waking up.
What, the taste of toothpaste as always? What time is it there? 9 AM?
Yeah.
Just gone?
Yeah, 9 AM.
Been round with the chat room for the last half an hour.
I'm actually going to put a link. I'm going to send you an image, Nathan. You might like this image. It's a friend of mine posted it on her Facebook. Give me a second, and I'll send you the image.
Does the friend get a shout out or not?
Yeah, I'll do all that in a second. Let me just send you the image first.
Okie doke.
Where the hell's it gone? Find it now. Very odd.
It's on Skype.
Yeah. Hang on. I know what. For whatever reason, it's saving it and then it's disappeared, so I'll have to get it one last time.
Or just screen share it.
Save image as. All right. I'm gonna love this because it's of a sunrise, and the person in question, she lives in Kentucky. So I'm just going to send you the image now. Hopefully you should get it.
Moments.
There you go.
There we go. Got it. So you want me to stick this up on screen?
Make of that what you will. Perhaps you could display it.
I can put it up for the audience. Talk us through what it is then, because it looks like the sun's half cut off in midair.
Indeed,
right?
It does.
Very
now,
strange.
She's not a flat earther or anything. She's just a friend of someone that I know, and she said, "I see this all the time," and she's taken lots of images of it, and she just posted this particular one. So I've asked her for more anyway, but this is just one sunrise that she's seen. Now, if you pay attention to the top of the sun, the brightest part, that's where I actually believe the real sun is. I believe that all the rest is just what is it like? It's hitting the atmosphere and expanding. It's not the real sun, and that would make sense. It's like the bottom half of it is meeting a refraction zone, and it's cutting it off. And you see the same at sunset as well. You see a very bright spot right at the very top of the sun, and the rest of it is much redder rather than bright yellow.
That's a
I
weird
don't know. I
picture.
don't know if I fully agree. I think it's more the case that well, I'm going to guess off the cuff just from this one image that what she's showing, if she gets that repeatedly, is the actual horizon. So the line where it's being cut off is the actual horizon.
Wow.
I mean, I get this same effect here. There's a particular hill up the road from me, and I'm going to do this as the sun starts to come into that position, but there's a road that dips down, and at sunset, the sun, I think, will set on the actual horizon, even though the topography means that the land dips below that. And in technical terms, if you are on a ball, as the world spins, the only thing that's going to obscure the sun is the land mass itself. That's what obscures it. Whereas in reality, I think the sun will always set like this. No, this is a sunrise, but you know what I'm getting at. It'll set on the actual horizon every single time. But we'll see. I'm going to see if I can capture that. It's probably going to be next month. But this is cool. Thanks
Where's
for that.
this picture taken?
This is from Kentucky in America.
Okay.
Nice. Thanks. Big shout
Yeah.
out to whoever took that picture. Do you know? Presumably the person
I do.
doesn't want naming.
Lisa J. Kenny.
Big shout out to Lisa. Thank you very much.
Oh, yeah, I went down to do some filming today. Needn't have bothered, to be fair. I mean, the forecast was pretty good. Except as soon as I stepped out of my house this morning, first thing I noticed was the planes had been spraying. And I didn't realise how bad they had actually been spraying until I could see the checkered formation, you know, like in squares, blocks of them. And then I got down to the beach, and you could see where the clouds, apparent clouds that were in the sky, were nothing but chemtrails, basically. And you couldn't see very far. You couldn't see anything from where I was. So I left it a while, went back about 3 hours later. Same thing. And what was really frustrating was the tide was coming in just as I would have thought the original, you know, when I did the original footage and I got underneath the refraction zone?
Yeah.
It was the same type of swell on the water. So the water was very calm, very still. It was the right temperature. It was the right sort of time as well. It was a very similar time. And I was so excited to get down there, and everything was, you couldn't see a thing. You literally couldn't see more than 3 miles away from the top of the, on top of the seawall. So I wasn't even on the beach. You couldn't see anything. The amount of chemtrails that they'd been spraying was ridiculous.
Yeah,
It was just like a mist everywhere.
Despite my limited knowledge of chemtrails, I will say they definitely wash out visibility.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I videoed it. I've got 2 videos that I'm going to put up because I was so frustrated because I was expecting to go down and try and repeat the same experiment that I did before. And I thought that it was the ideal chance to go and get a corroborating, piece of evidence. And of course, you couldn't see anything. It was very, and they haven't really sprayed a lot. It's only been the last, 2 or 3 days that they've been out spraying. And I haven't really paid attention to the chemtrails recently, but today was really heavy, really, really heavy. And yeah, I'll put those videos up later anyway. If anyone's interested in chemtrails, come and have a look at them because you'll see how bad they were today.
Yeah, it's hard to get an idea of it when you're looking at the sky from England and you're used to seeing it pretty much all year round. It's only when someone like Patricia comes over to England and goes, "Wow, that's a lot of chemtrails," and you're like, "Well, that's fairly normal actually." But apparently, they see a couple of chemtrail planes going across in the States, and it's like, "Wow, big deal, loads of chems." It's like, well, no, here it's continuous, almost all the time. It's unusual when it doesn't happen, as Ranty's pretty much just said.
Right. In fact, I'll get my card out and see whether or not I can show you any of it. So give me 5 minutes, see if I can find what I'm looking for. And I'll show you how bad it was today. Oh, and Anthony's built my PC. So I should have a new PC tomorrow.
You can't wait.
I can't wait actually to get my hands on it. It's going to be awesome. I need to get some software so I can start editing the videos again properly. because I've been pretty lax. I've just been putting them up as I've filmed them, so I haven't really had time to go through them and do a proper presentation. But probably in the next week or so, I should be able to do that.
Cool.
Right, let's see. Video. That was this morning. Right. Do you want to present me?
Yeah, sure.
Should be ready in a moment. Right. Let's see. Here we go. Right. So this was this morning. This was me on the beach. So here I am. I can't see. I'm just basically showing you that I can't see anything. I can't even see the wind turbines. Can't see anything. Can't see over to Barrow. Barrow would be in that direction. Can't even see the mountains that would be behind Barrow. And now I look up and you can, all this that looks like cloud, it's not cloud at all. It's chemtrails. It's like, it's disgusting, basically. And you'll see the formation in a minute, how they've been laying them. Look at that. I don't know if there's any people that you get in Australia or America that can see it, that get anything like this, but this is what we get hit with in the UK.
That's fairly standard, wouldn't you say? I mean, that looks like my sky when they've been over. And they just keep doing it. So if there's a bit of wind, that will dissipate over the course of about 15 minutes into just a haze of what looks like clouds. And then they'll just carry on doing it as that floats along the sky. And then
that's it. I mean, there was no... Sorry, there was no clouds in the sky today at all. It was just chemtrails. And people don't realise that when they come out, they might go out for the lunch. They might have paid no attention on the way to work, gone into work in an office or something, come out at lunchtime, and there's a bit of cloud in the sky. It's very misty, but it's all it is just chemtrails.
That's a lot.
It is a lot, isn't it? Do you see this over there, Mummy?
Not so much. In the past, we used to get chemtrailing that looked like that, but these days, not so much. I guess I don't know. I mean, who knows what it is or why they're doing it, right? But I guess they target certain areas for whatever the reason. But I've noticed a marked absence of that kind of thing in Toronto in the last few years.
So this is later on in the day. This is about 3 hours afterwards, and this is me looking out. That's where I normally do my filming from. Next, sort of like to the right hand side of this. But can you see? You can barely see 3 miles, I would say, because I can walk out, and it's around about half a mile to this or a third of a mile to this. But can you see you can't see anything. It's all chemtrails that have just come down. You can't see anything at all. And this is from the sea wall. And then in a minute, I'm going to move across and show you where I would be looking at Barrow. And again, you can't see any of that. Just one sec. Hello?
Hello, you're live on the air.
Right. Okay. So, yeah, this is me showing the chemtrails again. Just 1 second, guys. Just put myself on there.
Could have done that for him.
Chemtrails.
Yeah, it's one of those subjects that I don't care for a great deal, as much as I can look at a picture of chemtrails or observe them for myself and go, there's chemtrails, or persistent contrails, or whatever the hell you want to call them. I couldn't care less. I've no idea what their purpose is. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know if they're causing me any harm. And while some people might say, well, there's no need to be apathetic to the subject just because you don't know. It's like, well, what progress has there been? I've paid vague attention to the chemtrail subject over the last 3 or 4 years. Has anything changed? Has anything altered? Has anybody got any more information on it? I don't think so. Same documentaries that get used when people say or explain what's in them is the same documentaries as being shared around today. Other than new footage of people having their area sprayed, what else is new?
Yeah. Well, it's certainly mysterious. I don't know. I don't understand it. I mean, I doubt whether it's extremely toxic, because it seems like we would probably have started to see the effects of that if that were the case, right?
Sorry, am I still displaying, Nathan?
No, but I'll stick you back up.
Oh, right.
Maybe some sort of effort at
You are now.
wide weather modification or something like that. The question is, what are the chems, right? Like, everything's a chemical. So no matter what they're doing, you could fairly describe it as a chemtrail.
Agreed.
But yeah, it seems like if it was metals or something like that, that, you know, it would be pretty easy for people to deduce that through some sort of tests. I don't know. I'm not sure. To me, it's, yeah, I don't spend too much time on it myself either, for the similar reasons to you, Nathan.
Well, I think the point of what I'm trying to say is that I went to do some filming today and I wasn't able to see anything at all or document anything because of these chemtrails. That's the whole point. And the point was they were spraying that hard today, and
Yeah.
can you see these water? Can you see the water here? Can you see how still it is? And you got like three little ripples at the end. Now that was exactly the same conditions that I had when I saw from 1 foot, and I saw a barrel, and I knew this was the forecast. And to go along and then just see this, it was just so disappointing. So call me a conspiracy theorist or whatever you want to choose, but I'm going to say they came out for me, especially for me. Stop me seeing barrel again from a foot.
So the chemtrails are just to block visibility so people can't make flat Earth observations. Yeah.
Absolutely.
No, not to block people's visibility, to block ranties, specifically ranties.
Just mine, yeah, exactly. They knew I was onto something. They knew I'd be out there. We've probably had the son of an astronaut phoning up British Airways and the RAF, and came out and they started laying them really thick so I couldn't see anything.
For any audience member, we are joking. We are not conspiratards.
Well, it could be. You know, you never know.
Yeah,
You never
equally as
know.
likely as not, but we don't know. That's the problem.
But that's where Barrow would have been. What a shame. Never mind. There's always more days in the week.
Yeah, exactly. There's always other opportunities to try these things. So, you got anything else?
Anything else? Not really.
Can you jump on the back
Nope.
door then?
The back door, of course. Can.
Yeah.
Wait, are you getting attacked?
No, but just in case. So far, so good.
Right. Okay. I'm on it.
What do you know, Nami?
Sorry?
What do you know?
I don't know. Not much.
Any more progress on your Soundly presentation?
Well, yesterday I was busy again. I'm planning to try to attack it over the weekend when I have more time during the day. And yeah, hopefully I can get Chris Monk on the horn and maybe he can help me out with some of the challenges that I've encountered with it. But yeah, should be good for next week at some point.
Yeah, there's people like yourself and Chris, I've noticed, I don't know, the more intellectual people, shall we say, are always outraged by Soundly. Me, I don't care. I can take Soundly or leave it. I don't care. But people like yourself I don't want to say in a tiz over it because it demeans what you're doing. But what is it specifically about Soundly that pisses you off so badly?
It doesn't piss me off so badly. It's just that I think what I want to, what I'd like to show is that the degree of fraud and the kind of effort that's being made into fooling people and the sophistication of video editing technology and graphics these days is, I would really like to be able to share that information with other flat earthers in a way that they could comprehend, and also just so that if we could really establish the truth that somebody like that is actually going to what seems like, you know, to an average person to be a unbelievable degree of effort to create fraudulent evidence in support of the globe Earth.
You know, it reminds me of, although obviously you've not presented anything yet. Do you remember when Jaren got a piece of green screen style colour card, and put it into his window behind his curtains, and then basically filmed a piece of footage where he just walks up to the curtains and draws them and films the green bit behind his curtains, takes it into a piece of editing software and basically inserts I think I can't remember which way round. He was either the ISS, his house became the ISS and he's doing an Earth flyby, or the other way round, his Earth view has suddenly got the ISS doing a flyby. I can't remember which, but the point was that it was incredibly convincing. You know, obviously it's ludicrous because he's in a house and he's just drawing his curtains, but the end effect, you're like, wow, that's Jaren. He's probably maybe at the most plugged $80, $60 into that software. Maybe it's more, but you know what I'm getting at. It's not exactly millions of dollars, is it? It's just a guy with a PC.
Yeah. Yeah, also just I think like similarly to Chris Monk, like when I look at that footage, I can I don't know, I can tell that it's fake by looking at it. The same way that, you know, everyone can on some level with 3D graphics. There's going to be some level where everyone is going to be able to distinguish it from reality, from real footage, right? But I think that I spent a lot of time looking at that footage. And so certain things jump out at me now that probably don't jump out to the average viewer, but the average viewer has probably not spent much time looking at it. So I think that, I don't know, I think if anybody spent, you know, enough time just staring at it and just looking at the details and watching it over and over again, that they would start to see the seams. So I just want to be able to point out what I'm, you know, the anomalies that I'm seeing and try to define, you know, just sort of define these anomalies more clearly and then hopefully prove something about them, which is what I'm going to be trying to do next week.
It's one of those things that used to frustrate people whenever I'd watch a movie, because I worked in, or was trained in production and how they put together sets and things of that nature. And as a consequence, when I'd watch movies, proper big budget, not billion dollar, you know, millions of dollars put into the production, I'd spot continuity errors really quickly. You know, things that aren't quite right. And most people don't spot continuity errors. They're caught in their suspension of disbelief has taken over. So therefore, they don't spot things that aren't quite correct, that are out of place. Me, I can't help it, you know, and I'll point it out to people who are with me and normally get, you know, huffy looks. But, you know, I'm just one of those. And you're the same. You know, you look at this stuff long enough, and it's probably true for anybody. If you watch the same movie over and over again, you start to look at parts of the movie that you haven't looked at before in more detail. And it's just a question of time before you will spot inconsistencies, errors, as you have done. So I'm quite excited. I've got to be honest. I like a good continuity error.
Yeah, well, it's amazing how it's difficult to prove these things, though, sometimes, you know, like even when it's just staring you right in the face, that our senses can be so easily confused with technology and cameras and graphics, and it can be very confusing for people.
Sure, and we're talking about stuff that somebody's spent a long time looking at the minutiae to begin with, looking at the detail. Because we're not talking about a motion picture here where you've got a team of editors all working on different parts from different cameras, shot on different days in different orders, and mistakes happen. We're talking about somebody who's focusing on one particular thing in detail and trying to get it as perfect as possible. And it's not that complicated, but you still make mistakes. Mistakes are going to happen.
Yeah, inevitably, yeah. If you look at anything closely enough, you're going to find the flaws. That reality doesn't, I don't know, it's pretty hard to match reality with fakery in the end.
It was one of those Mandela effects that I liked. Well, not like debunking, because one of the people that had this Mandela effect as a kind of Mandela proof was Dave Murphy. And Dave Murphy's like a god to me. I think he's absolutely amazing. But on the show I interviewed him, he explained about a Mandela effect that I knew I knew a lot about, because it had been used as a demonstration tool back in the late 90s when I was working in a hi-fi shop, and it was all laser discs and, you know, selling people expensive equipment to get better pictures. And we were down to the details of which laser disc was better, because there was different versions of Star Wars, and it was the one that, you know, you wanted to get the Criterion edition because it was the one with the best colours. Simple as that. And what you were trying to do with a customer is bring them downstairs as a skeptic, because normally they'd come in with a mild enthusiasm but didn't want to show their hand. So they'd say, you know, I've already got this exceptionally good Sony television or whatever. I can't believe that 10 grand's going to get it any better than I've got already. It looks fantastic. And then, of course, you'd take them downstairs and show them on something that they were familiar with, like Star Wars, details that they hadn't seen before. You know, C-3PO silver leg immediately springs to mind. But most people haven't noticed these details because they haven't been given the equipment to notice the details. And then you move forward 20 years when everyone's got a high-definition telly and a Blu-ray player, and they start picking out details that they hadn't noticed before and think it's Mandela. You know, a frustrating one, sorry, this isn't very flat earth, but who cares, is the James Bond one, the girl with the braces, which I haven't been able to debunk. You know, that's the only Mandela effect left on the list for me. It's literally the only one I can think of. If someone's got more, I bet you anything it's already been debunked or has a reasonable explanation. But that Jaws one, I can't debunk it. I can't find a VHS copy of the TV broadcast of Moonraker or whichever it was to see if she's still got braces in it on the TV broadcast. But that's my only explanation for it, because I don't understand that one. But there we go.
I wasn't even aware of that one. You know, the Mandela effect, the one that trips me out the most is the Mike Tyson and Evander Holyfield fight, where, like, I pretty distinctly remember the story being that Mike Tyson bit off a chunk of Evander Holyfield's ear and spit it out onto the canvas.
Right.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Well, that's not what happened, actually.
Okay. What happened?
He just bit his ear. He didn't bite off a piece of it and spit it out onto the canvas.
Oh, right. No, I didn't think he'd spat it out onto the canvas. I remember it being on, you know, I remember the actual shot of him biting his ear being on the front page of the newspapers. But literally he did just do that, just bite it.
So that's how you remember it?
I don't remember him spitting out a chunk onto the canvas, no, for certain.
Most people I've talked to can remember it similarly to me, which is that he, like, bit off a piece of it and there was, like, a missing piece, and then he spit it out on the canvas. But I guess we all remembered it wrong or something, because when you go back and look, no, he didn't actually bite off a chunk of the ear, just bit the ear.
Yeah, just bit him. Hey Josh, good to have you. You hear us? Still there, Nami?
Yep.
Yeah, just twisted memories. IPS used to say that the Mandela effect is standard media fare. In other words, they're always changing their story.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's symbolic of that idea. Because, yeah, I don't really think there's a true Mandela effect. Although I don't know, the other one is the mirror on the wall. That's another one where, I don't know, I so distinctly remember the line being mirror on the wall and not magic mirror on the wall. And seems almost unbelievable that it was magic mirror on the wall, but I guess it wasn't.
Just, you know, that's just repetitive. That's people on talk shows and comedy shows and all that sort of stuff saying mirror, mirror.
Yeah, I guess so. But it's strange though, because I didn't really see, like, I never would have second guessed my memory on that one if I was asked.
Fair enough.
I don't know, all the Mandela effects, like, there's a lot of them, they really do seem like strange, but I guess it's just people identifying weird memory glitches for whatever the reason. Like, you know, the Forrest Gump one. There's a lot of weird ones.
But they're all benign. You know, who cares? Yeah. With all of them.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not a big Mandela effect person. I just think it's kind of a lark, really.
It was the first thing that pissed me off in flat Earth, actually. So within a couple of weeks, I'm searching through videos. There was very limited flat Earth information in YouTube at that time. So you came across other garbage, and Jesse Spots was one of those first things I came across, and him talking about the Mandela effect. And I was just outraged. I was just like, this is such nonsense. Debunked half of what it came out with almost on the spot. The rest I did a little bit of research into to see if I was right or he was right. And I was right, of course. And, I left him a scathing message and made a video about him. And I was like, this is just nonsense. You find out something so pinnacle in terms of the nature of your world, and immediately what you come up against, or at least back then, 3 years ago, what you came up against was total and utter conspiratard garbage. Just nonsense.
Whatever happened to Jesse Spots? Is he still going?
I have no idea.
Never really watched him too much. Wasn't really my cup of tea.
Yeah, not even hit and miss. Miss, hit. Occasionally he'd get something that was like right on the money, or interesting at the least. But,
Yeah, he's one of these people that I suspect might be a plant or something like that, not really a genuine flat earther.
I don't know that either way. All I do know is that that was the first thing that pissed me off. You find out a fundamental truth about the world, something that you've always kind of felt, or I had always felt in my bones, and then you're like, this is actually how the world is. And then the next thing on your list is Mandela effect. We live in a simulated reality, and things can change like black cats walking across the matrix twice. What a load of nonsense.
Have you ever talked to him live?
Yes, I have. I did a show with him. What was the show about? I think it was about neuro-linguistic programming. And he was well up on the subject. I was just chatting to, I can't remember who was on the show. I think it might have been Stephen Chess. And I was like, who do you know who knows their stuff on NLP? And he pointed me in Jesse Spott's direction. I was like, really? Fair enough. So Jesse came on, talked about it with us, and seemed to know a reasonable amount about it. I was pleased with the result. Yeah, so I did chat with him once live. NLP was the subject.
I don't know too much about neuro-linguistic programming.
Neither did I at the time, but I found it fascinating. I'd just done a bit of reading on it, so I was like, who knows about this subject? Hence Jesse Spots was on.
So it's just about using language to guide people's perceptions as you speak with them, right?
Yes and no. I mean, it's the way it always gets or the way it was described when I was researching it was almost like a self-help technique more than a methodology to program others. Although that is in its nefarious guise is how it's portrayed. So yes and no.
It's like the alchemy of sales, really, right?
Yeah, I suppose.
Just planting buzzwords into people's minds and then building little networks of signification and things like that. Yeah, I don't know.
Not really.
I don't think it works on me, so I'm not worried about it.
Gone so far off flat Earth, it's untrue. But this is what happens when you get limited trolling. That's how I see all globers. Even if they don't realise it, they're just trolling.
Yeah.
They don't even know it yet. Some of them do.
There doesn't seem to be that many people who are interested in having a genuine conversation or debate. It seems like, 90% of the people who deal with this subject are trolls of one shade or another.
Hey, Arwen.
Oh, hey.
Hello.
Hello. Don't know where Ranty went. Must have PC problems.
I think he probably abandoned the conversation when we started talking about Soundly because he's a big fan of Soundly's work.
Why'd you say he's a fan?
Well, because he's always like so vehemently defending its genuine character, right? He's a he's a proponent of its authenticity.
So
He has a strong disagreement. Like, he got really mad when I first brought that up, that it was suggesting that those videos might not be authentic was really offensive to him.
I think in his mind he can capture the same thing, or he can get close to similar effects. Therefore, if he can debunk what he's claiming based on those pieces of footage, that's where you debunk him in Ranty's mind. I think you debunk him based on being able to replicate it and say, here's the other explanation, rather than saying, actually, it's just not real. That's not how the world looks, which is your approach.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I just think that may be why he left the conversation, because it seemed like it was when we started talking about that he...
But I genuinely don't think he's a Soundly fan. I wouldn't put him in that camp.
Yeah, okay, maybe that's not the right term.
I mean, there are Soundly fans. I mean, Tony Vincenzo, if I'm saying his name correctly, is a Soundly fan. You know, more power to him. Great. You know, I'm not going to like who you like.
Okay, maybe I should say he's a Soundly apologist.
Yes, that I would agree with. He's definitely a Soundly apologist, even if he doesn't agree with Soundly.
So he doesn't want to be inculcated as a kook for making these kind of accusations about it. Although it doesn't really matter, because once you're a flat earther, you're already all the way in the kook. You're already 100% kook, so it doesn't really matter what you say anyway. Right? You're not going to get any more kooky than being a flat earther, so you may as well go full bore.
But maybe that's what outraged me so much about Jesse Spots. In one breath he's saying the Earth is flat, the next breath he's saying Mandela effect. And while I don't consider myself to be that kooky, yeah, I'm a flat earther. Yeah, I know that the Earth is obviously flat, but I don't see that as particularly kooky. Just recognising the obvious nature of the world around you. That's just being a bit more observant, maybe, than some, looking at my phone less, and not having a television set, all that kind of stuff. But that's not like eccentric. Whereas, what was the other one? Clone centres. That's just bonkers. No offence to Ranty either, but chemtrails, speculating about it, saying this is what they are, like Ranty did. I've got nothing against what Ranty showed. This is the crap in the sky. It stopped me from seeing stuff. Yep, I'll agree with that 100%. Calling them chemtrails, don't care what the title is. But when you start to draw conclusions, they're poisoning us. How do you know they are?
Well, because of the measured content of the chemtrails, of what they actually leave behind. There's been a lot of research done.
Says who? Some guy on YouTube?
No. Says people I met in person that spent a decade getting into that.
Tell me more. Who have you met that knows about chemtrails, Arwin?
It's all over the world. In America, in England, in the Netherlands, France, all over the place.
So what did they find was the composition of the chemtrails, Arwin?
Well, they found specifically that, especially after 95, when the chemtrails pretty much started up, that there was an extreme heightened amount of aluminum in the water samples, in the surface water samples, and that there was barium oxide. And those were the primary components that seem to have increased manyfold since the chemtrails started up. There's also been some other heavy metals been detected, and there's also been mysterious new fungi and even certain bacteria that have been spotted in surface water that whose origin are just unknown. They don't know where it's coming from, but those are not all present. They seem to be more sporadic, but the aluminum and the barium oxide are universal.
So they'd been taking samples prior to the chemtrailing, and how do they distinguish whether that?
Well, water samples have been taken for a century. This is just part of ecology, and so that is basically it wasn't there, and they have personally tested it themselves. They took the water samples.
Okay, but then aluminum and barium are pretty much harmless, right? So
no,
No?
No, they are not.
Okay, but then we don't see, like, people's health, generally speaking, has been improving over the last 20 years, not declining, right? Like, people are living
No, it has
longer,
not. This absolutely has not,
according to whom?
according to statistics.
Which statistics are you looking at?
Western world statistics.
So Western world statistics
Yeah,
don't show
the
that
amount of cancer has been exploding manyfold, like
I thought
100 times in the last 20 years, something in that direction. What used to be extremely rare. Also, just universal obesity, all that kind of stuff. Now, there is also been a degeneration in the food quality, and GMOs have also been introduced. So it is really hard to trace it all back to one single source, but it does not help. And it's well known that aluminum is a great burden to the brain.
Yeah, I
Where are you
don't.
getting this
Disrupts
from?
brain activity,
Where
and
are you
this
getting
is
this information
even
from,
tested
Arwen?
in the aluminum that is
Where are you getting this
present in
from?
deodorant, in many
Where are you getting this
cheaper
information from?
deodorants. It's
Where are you
known
getting it
that it's
from?
in
What's
there.
your source for this information?
Sorry?
What's your source for this information?
It's all over the place.
Okay, the way that, from what I've looked at,
This is what I was into in the last 20 years. So medical
okay,
stuff.
I've looked at a lot of like statistics dealing with cancer and
Natural
health.
news, Infowars, all over the place.
Okay, well, Infowars is not
Well,
necessarily.
natural news it's a very reliable source. They have their own laboratory. So
Well, I don't consider any of these sources to necessarily be reliable.
well,
But
I do. I've
okay,
been following them. I've basically followed all of their advice, food-wise. I learned a lot. I learned about colloidal silver from them. I basically started eating organic because of them. So I don't care that you don't find them reliable. They're probably not very reliable when it comes to a source of cosmology because they're both, of course, globers. But when it comes to medical knowledge, they are very much
Well,
reliable.
Arwen,
They had a lot of alternative doctors on their shows.
Arwen, I
They
wasn't
have
picking
done a
on.
lot of research all over their lives. So
When I wasn't picking on those sources, I said I don't necessarily think any particular source is reliable, but I will say that I've looked at a lot of health statistics, and as far as I can tell, cancer rates, like I don't know where you're getting your cancer statistics, but it's apparently.
well, how about hospital admittance? The amount of cancer treatments that are now being
You
done.
have to look at the number of hospital admittance is going to have to be looked at as a demographic percentage, right? There's more people. There's more people that are going into. There's the baby boomer generation, right, who are aging now. So there's going to be more people entering the hospital because there's more old people suffering from health problems.
But
there's a big
cancer is not an old people disease. No, that's absolutely nonsense.
every disease, all diseases affect the elderly more, right? Because everybody dies of something.
Yeah, but in this case, there are now younger people as old as in their 20s that are being basically treated for Alzheimer, that kind of stuff. That did not happen 20 years ago, ever.
Okay, well, I haven't known.
There's a lot of cancer patients ranging from between 8 years old and like 40, and that happens a lot.
I've never known personally or even known of a person that was in my immediate circle who had cancer.
Well, that's pretty rare because I don't know anybody else that does not have a cancer case in their family, including my own mother and several nephews.
Arwen, you didn't let me finish my sentence. Okay? I said between 8 and 40.
Well, I do.
I've had people in my family who had cancer. I've just never known anyone who had cancer who was young.
I had an 8-year-old nephew. To be honest, never actually, or a niece, and she died. Okay,
hey,
so
Zoe.
yeah, that happens.
Okay, so but maybe that's biasing your point of view, right?
Hi.
Oh,
No.
sorry, Frank. I thought you were a troll, so I kicked you. I'm really sorry.
I'm still here.
No, not you, Zoe. I kicked a guy called Frank because I just assumed he was a troll. Sorry,
Oh,
Frank,
okay.
whoever you were.
But okay, so Arwen, what cancer statistic, what source of cancer statistics do you consider to be reliable? Because if you're going to cite natural news, they're going to
People talking about it, people actually walking around having obvious cancer treatment without any hair at an age that you should never have that.
Okay, but
All
that's
of that,
kids, anecdotal. That's anecdotal.
The amount of hospitals that just have a lot of cancer patients, it's well known.
But it could be, but the rates overall could be down, right?
No,
Because
no, it's not. It's increasing. It's not down.
Says who, Arwin?
Says everyone.
Who's
not
everyone?
says
Sorry, but can you look up any source, any at all, like ever, that's out there that says that it's not increasing? Because I'd like to see that. Because you're just making this wild, untested, wet finger work statement here, and you don't base it on anything.
Oh, I do base it. I base it
on what? On what? That you don't have any case in your family?
No. I've looked at a lot of health statistics. I'm not saying that those necessarily.
Oh, the death rate. Yeah. Yeah, the death rate has went down. That could definitely be because there's a lot more treatments, especially alternative treatments that work a lot better. They've pretty much figured out that cannabis oil works very well against it, although the medical industry does not like to admit it. But just because the death rate is down doesn't mean that the amount of cancer cases have went up dramatically, many-fold.
No, I don't think that that's true.
Well, I do.
Okie dokie then.
Well, I would say that, especially with the neurological diseases, that has definitely gone up. And it definitely attributed to chemtrails and the aluminum in the chemtrails.
Well,
It's
I don't think it's not definite, okay?
Chemtrails,
It's
vaccinations.
It's not definite.
vaccinations, but I mean, definitely vaccinations.
Newer vaccinations, like
So many
the flu shot.
There's nothing definite about any of this. You know, where's your proof? It could be, but it's not definite. Definite is way overconfident.
Yes, it is. Laboratory studies, medical studies, thousands of people's being tested. You're not a doctor, Nami. Stick to freaking physics.
Well, you're not a doctor either, so we're both just trying to sort this out. But I mean, just, you know, insisting and making sweeping assertions is not helpful to the conversations, to figuring out the truth of it. It could be that you're right. I admit that you could be right, but you're not admitting that you could be wrong. That's the problem. That's why you're not going to sort this out at all, right? You've already, it's a foregone conclusion in your mind.
Well, the conclusion has been based on
and it's caused by chemtrails. You've already decided.
No,
you're not willing to look
chemtrails
into
is
it.
just a part of it. It's you put all the things together and they create a general burden on the body, and that creates eventually a cataclysm. It goes out of control. It's like putting a pressure on a society. When the pressure rises from all directions, then eventually a revolt starts to occur, and that's the same way the body functions. That's how it works. And I don't care that you're skeptical about that. Well, this is my field. This is what I do. I'm my own doctor. I'm very serious. Looked into a lot of things, and I know how it works.
So, do you think that average lifespans have increased in the last 20 years or not?
I think that it pretty much stayed the same.
Yeah.
Okay, so what would you consider if I was able?
I can explain that. I can explain. Look, I've been watching shows that talk about these statistics. What has happened in the last 100 years is that the amount of child deaths, especially to child-related diseases and labor deaths, like child labor death, that has decreased extremely in the Western world. But at the same time, people die from diseases a lot more.
Shout out to Tony Vincenzo, who got a comment earlier. Happy Friday. How did you trick a girl into coming here?
We did because people are living longer, that we're getting more cases.
People are not living longer. That is the whole problem.
Well, by all
Well, that's
live
just
a
something
lot
that's
longer.
gets repeated all the time. People are living longer now. People are living longer now.
Well, by all,
That's just
okay,
a repeating thing.
so you
not-
don't, so okay, so you're getting statistics about cancer that you believe from somewhere, right? Presumably, but those same types of sources, like, okay, so what sources do you consider to be reliable for cancer statistics and lifespan? Because
Well, just listen to
around
people how old their grandparents are when they die.
well, all my
Okay.
grandparents have
It
lived
used to be like 80. Now it's usually more in 70.
no, it's the other way around.
No, it isn't.
More like 70s. Now it's usually like 80s or 90s. Well, that's my experience. All my grandparents lived to be into their 90s.
Well, that's very good
All
for
my
you, but I'm not just talking about my own, because my grandmother also was 95
Yeah, but
when she died.
okay, so then what?
But on
okay.
average, just we listen to the stories, ask people, grandparents tend to die a lot sooner, or they get really ill and then they're kept alive for a very long period.
That's
The whole
not
point
true.
is that when people age nowadays in the Western world, they tend to contract a lot of diseases, a lot of very serious problems, a lot more. While 50 years ago and before that, or like 70 years ago, the people then, when they grew old, they didn't have as much problems, like slight problems, like arthritis, annoying things, but not deadly diseases. That's the big difference.
Yeah,
So
but you have to
old
consider like,
days, people could die very young by accident, by child labor, death, that kind of thing. But people that survived tended to grow a lot older with less
Okay.
problems. That
So
is how it changed.
what? Okay, so what would you consider to be a reliable source of data on lifespan worldwide? What source?
I'll just look into anything and then see if I find them reliable. That's how I do
Okay,
it.
so is it going to be if they confirm what you think, then it's reliable, and if they go against it, then it's not? Like,
Or if they're going to say certain things that I know that are obvious propaganda, that I know that are not true from my own experience, then I will
but
distrust
you're
them.
not okay. But Arwen, your own experience isn't going to tell you about millions and millions of cases, right? Like, even if you took
No,
all,
but I've looked through hundreds of thousands of pages and watched a lot of movies on medical stuff, and I have family that are into this. My father is into alternative medicine, has done a lot of study, done a lot of reading, and I consider indeed myself as a source. I can pretty much test how reliable I think somebody is.
okay.
So, yeah, sorry, it's not scientific
You don't
proof.
have to be sorry, but I'm just saying.
No,
that-
I am not sorry. That was sarcasm. It's not scientific proof. I don't care. I know what I know, and I
Well,
trust myself and my own judgment in this.
I don't think you do know.
Yeah, I do, and I don't care that you think that I don't know, because
Well,
you
I'm
tend
willing to
think a lot of
admit
those
that
types
I
of
think
things
the
about
difference is
everyone.
that
You
I'm
think
willing to
you're
admit-
always right and everybody's always
No,
wrong.
I'm willing to
You
admit.
sound like Rumpus here.
No, I'm saying you could be right, but I don't think that I think your level of confidence far exceeds the information that you have available to you.
No, I don't think so.
Well, I
I
think
have
that
a lot of information available, and I don't even talk about half the things that I do look into that
Well, I think that
completely
you have-
derail the entire medical concept.
Yeah, I have a lot of problems with the entire medical concept as well, and I think that the drug
Yeah.
industry and the healthcare industry is pretty corrupt. But
Yeah,
At
but
the-
you probably don't even know the half of it. Look, the thing
don't
is,
think-
there
I
are
don't
all
think
kinds of
everybody knows the
angles
half
to
of it.
medical problems, and you can address it through all these angles, all of them. And I do. I look at it through all the angles, even the angles that completely deny the existence of viruses and bacteria and all of that, even the concept of a disease as an invasion. So
Well, the
I look
germ-
at it through all angles.
the germ theory of disease is debatable.
Yes,
Right.
it is.
So there's a lot of unknowns in this whole picture.
Well, they're not
But
really
there's a-
that.
but
They're
there's a-
not really that unknown. There's an entire alternative medical system that has been worked out as the alternative. There's books about this. I have.
Yeah, but the alternative isn't necessarily right either.
Well, it seems to be.
Just because there's an alternative, it's not a binary.
Well, if I have certain problems, medical issues like pain in the jaw, that stuff, then I can look it up where it's coming from. And it's pretty reliable.
Well, I'm just saying that getting back to the original point, there's no solid proof that chemtrails are causing particular diseases or lowering lifespan.
No, but that's not.
No, but it's like a consequence. It's not necessarily that,
It's a burden.
oh, they're trying to poison us. No, not necessarily. That's just a by-effect. That's a side effect of
Nothing.
the
I don't.
Well, they
weather
may be
manipulation
fungi
aspect of it.
specifically to do that, and there may be even correlation to
But we don't even know what's in
breakouts of the flu.
But that's the thing. It's not just a whimsical conclusion. It's based on test after test after test after test, and then you come to you can't. Inevitably have to come to the conclusion, well,
yeah,
there's aluminium and barium and strontium in these trails,
and when you breathe in,
people are making up, you know.
When you breathe
Well,
it
I
in,
don't know whether
when you
that-
ingest aluminium or you breathe it in, fine dust, it has very measurable consequences on the body. It is
On the
poisoning.
neurological aspects, yes, definitely.
Yes,
That's why
it,
the
it
word
bioaccumulates. The
if you
body-
make tomato soup in an aluminium pot, it will leach the aluminium into the soup.
yeah,
That's
and
why you're not supposed to
too.
eat acidic things out of aluminum pots. And that's why there were so many that got Alzheimer's back in the 80s, because that generation had used aluminum pots.
Yep.
And but nowadays you see so many young people getting weird neurological diseases. I mean, and
know
it's
if that's
very much up on the uprise.
Yeah, but you know why
That
that's
information that younger people are getting more neurological diseases. I'm not seeing. I don't know. But that's
Yeah.
Well,
it
it's just remarkable to see how many people are getting MS, how many people are getting this weird thing called myasthenia gravis. I mean, that people children get it. I mean, this is
Yeah,
things.
but that's something that's always happened. Are you
No,
sure
it's
that
not.
it's really increased?
no, it's not.
So children never got neurological diseases in the past.
Not like
That's
this.
going over in the other end of the scale. You know, you don't have to, like you just said before.
You
You
just
don't
said
have
no,
to
they're
either.
not.
It's not a binary thing. It's not either. Oh, they were never.
Exactly.
They never had this, or now they're all suddenly. It's
Exactly. So I'm just saying to you guys, I think you should be skeptical of the conclusions that you've already drawn as well. Because I'm willing to acknowledge that you could be right, but you're not willing to acknowledge that you could be wrong.
And with that, I'm going to say first and foremost, a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and hopefully for sharing this debate. And also a massive thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible. If you've not done so already, be sure to like, comment, share and subscribe. I've been Nathan Oakley and I will see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!